Let's pretend I'm your teacher, and I tell you, 2 weeks from today, you have to do a book report. Only the book report has to be oral. It has to be an oral presentation. What do? Yikes. That's the reaction of most people. Why? They feel fear. They're afraid to get up in front of people. They feel frustration. Why does the teacher make me have to get up in front of the class? They feel anxiety, like, oh my gosh, there are so many things going on, and stress. And where do all these things stem from, right? They come from the same fears, the same insecurities, the same emotions that people feel when they talk about heights. People have a fear of heights. People have a fear of darkness. People have a fear of spiders. Some people have a fear of death. Most people, 75% of people, have a fear of public speaking. That can be kind of crippling. If 75% of people have some type of fear of public speaking, then we have to do something to help people get over that. Why? You have to speak in front of classes. You have to speak in front of an interviewer and maybe in front of someone that you're interviewing. There's always an opportunity to have to do some type of public speaking. So why do we feel this way? There's a few reasons why we feel this way. We'll discuss 2 of them. One of them is it's a natural feeling to feel like you're being judged. Nobody wants to feel like they're being judged unless they know the outcome is going to be favorable. And the worst than feeling that you're being judged is a fear of rejection. God forbid somebody doesn't enjoy what you've done or what you're presenting, or they don't like the material or how you present it, they might reject you. And that's a terrible fear, a sense of fear that people have. So let's discuss what is an oral presentation. According to one online source, and there are many, according to one online source, it's effective communication with an audience. What? Effective communication with an audience? What does that mean? It means that you can show off your knowledge with audio and visual aids. My name's Rosebrook. I'm a high school teacher of English, and I'm going to present to you today some ideas of how to prepare an oral presentation and how to present an oral presentation. So come on in, let's dig in and have some fun. All right, most of us say, oh, I can talk in front of my friends. Mark Twain, a famous author, said, quote, if you want me to give you a 2-hour presentation, I'm ready right now. If you want only a 5-minute speech, it will take me 2 weeks to prepare. What does that mean? That's right. We have to prepare. The more prepared we are, the easier. That's one fear that we can already overcome because we know the material. And then the rest are just semantics that we can get to work for us. So we're going to take a look at some key words that will come across during the presentation. In the first part, we have a subject, which is what we're going to talk about. We have content, what we're going to do to show our knowledge of that subject. Who's our audience? We have to target our audience. We have to make our presentation fit the audience. What tools, what aids are we going to use to enhance our presentation? How are we going to engage or entice the audience? How did I get you all to pay attention? I said, hey, I'm your teacher, or if I were your teacher, and I told you in 2 weeks from now you had a presentation. Yikes, it made you freak out. Some of you might have even turned off the video. The rest of you stayed and decided to see what was coming in store. Facilitator. A facilitator is someone who helps move things along, who is more like the median in between. And what is buy-in? Buy-in is exactly what it's talking about. In Hebrew, you can say, oh, kanitoti or kanitoti. It's how you get someone to agree, to do something, to be a part of, to want to be a part of. So let's break this down. How do you prepare? The way you prepare for public speaking is the same that you prepare for written. You have to know your subject. You have to know your material really well, which means you have to probably do some research. Then you have to decide how are you going to work out the content, what are you going to include, what aren't you going to include, and it's relevant based on your audience. Who are you speaking to? And then, of course, what tools are you going to use to enhance or entice? The first thing we have to do is identify our goal. What is the goal of our speech? For me today, the topic is to inform you all, to educate you all, but it could be to convince you, and maybe that's, you know what, maybe I'm trying to convince you that public speaking isn't so bad, or to persuade you. Convince and persuade are very similar, or to evoke emotion. I want to get some type of rise out of you so I can get you to do something, to affect something. So the objectives for doing a public presentation are based on things that we need. What do we need for the presentation? And what do we know for the presentation? And that could be content as well as how we want to present. The first thing is know the material. You must know the material. I have in this picture here, the presenter equals the expert equals the facilitator. Listen, nobody is inside your head. You are inside your head. You are your best friend and your worst enemy. You are the one in charge. Now, I know that sometimes you think the audience is in charge because they might ask you questions, but that's nothing to fear. You are the expert. You are the one who is in control of the entire conversation. You are leading it. Your job is to enhance their knowledge. Why are you presenting? If you wanted, they could read it from an online source or a book or a journal or a magazine. You're presenting so that you can enhance their understanding. You can make the subject come alive. You can make it be part of who they are. You can encourage them to want to participate in whatever it is that you're sharing or want more information so that they'll go and research it online. Your job as the presenter is to think of yourself as the expert. You are the teacher and your audience is your students. How do you get buy-in? Well, there's a lot of ways that you can get buy-in. I got buy-in from you, or at least I tried to get buy-in from you in the very beginning when I said, pretend that I'm your teacher and I wanted to get you to pay attention. I needed to create a need that you wanted to pay attention. What was the need I was creating to get you to pay attention was how to produce, how to prepare, how to present some type of public presentation. I can use humor, I can use statistics, I can entice you with a question. I can do a lot of things to get you to buy in and to pay attention and to know, but I can't do any of that unless I do my research. I must know who my target audience is. I must know what avenues I can play with, because if I am speaking to a group of adults, I'm presenting a project and I want money for a project that I'm presenting, I'm not going to show things that I might be showing my friends in high school because it's not really relevant. You have to make sure that the content, the humor, the ways you're engaging, the ways you're enticing are all relevant to your audience. And again, we're going to go back to my favorite R word, which is research. Now we get to the tools. These are your visual aids. Audio, visual aids. Audio, visual, and aids. They're tools designed to help you. Now you probably think that the audio-visual tools are for you to give you cheat sheets so that when you're up in front of the audience, you can remember what you want to talk about. That's part of it. The audio-visual tools are to enhance whatever you're presenting to the group that you're presenting to. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do in order to make it better for them. The problem is sometimes people put too many things on board. Sometimes people put too little on board. They don't put relevant things on board. So we have to ask ourselves some WH questions. The first one is, which aids would I use? Am I going to use audio? Am I going to use visual? Then I have to ask myself, how many do I use? Because sometimes more than one is too many. Sometimes less is more. Have you ever heard the expression, a picture paints 1,000 words? I didn't have to put all the 1,000 words in front of the picture in order to get you to know what I was talking about. Where do I put them? How do I decide where to put them? What's going to be the most effective? And then how do I know what to include, what not to include? What's the purpose of it? What fonts to use? I have so many things to think about that I need to include as I use an audiovisual for a tool. But the audiovisual tools that I use are not a replacement for me, and I'm not going to bombard the slides with my entire presentation and read my entire presentation from the slide. Why would I do that? Because the audience could just read it on their own, couldn't they? Now we're going to go back and we're going to review the 4 organizational tools for preparing your presentation. It's funny, my slides are a little bit out of order, so how I memorized it is slightly different. The subject. Remember, we have to talk about what is the subject that we're going to talk about. What is my audience? How is it relative to my audience? What's the content? What am I going to put in that enhances, entices, makes them have a yearning for wanting more of whatever subject it is that I'm presenting? Who is my target audience? What am I trying to accomplish? Right? That's what I decided when I decided on my subject. Then I have to decide what I'm going to put in, and then I have to make it mesh or fit to whom my audience is. And last but not least, I have to take a look at my tools. What tools are going to best facilitate whatever message it is that I'm trying to get across? So I have a short video here for you. Don't go anywhere. How would I get to the escape? Oh, there we go. All right. This is an example of a kid, a student, and it's not really a good presentation. There's a lot of reasons why it's not a good presentation. Don't worry, it was done on purpose. He's not insulted or offended, but just take a look for a couple seconds.
So the Excel Center, my presentation is on the Excel Center. It's the Center of Excellence in Student Leadership. They do a lot of things like they have a public speaking lab, and they do consultation. And they have teams, and they're the consultation team and the workshop team. And these teams, the consultation team does
You missed me. What I wanted you to get from that video was just to watch what he was doing. He was reading from his material. He wasn't speaking correctly. He didn't understand what his content was or how to express it. He was humdrum. He barely looked at his audience. Those are things that we're going to take a look at when we get to the next section. Oops, we're not up for a break yet. Let's do a little practice. While I have you here, if it's okay, I want to go down to a different slide, and I want to have you do a little practice, if that's okay. I need my glasses because I can't see very well. All right, so here's practice number 1. You ready? Can I make it bigger? What happened? How do I get back to seeing my F5 again? This is one of the rules that I'm going to share with you. You have to know your technical equipment before you start. So that's okay. Are they watching me? Yeah. Great. So now you know that sometimes when things are live, stuff happens. Now, had I been better prepared, this wouldn't have happened. So I did this on purpose so you would see what we need to do. If I hit F5, will I get back to seeing all of the slides again?
Yeah, escape.
Here we go. Let's give it a try. This is the one that I was looking for. Now I go back to F5?
Yeah.
No. Let's try again. We're going to go back down to the slide. You see what happens, kids, ladies and gentlemen? This is exactly what happens in a live. We'll work from a small screen. How does that work for you? Haha, I figured it out, only I want this one. Your teacher just assigned you a speech to talk about your favorite movie. You have to talk about it to your classmates. What would your opening be like? What do you think your opening would be like? Or what would you do first? So you can take a mirror and you can go in front of your mirror and you can practice. What would your opening be like? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to try this exercise. Your teacher assigned you to tell the class about your favorite movie. What are the things that you would include about your favorite movie? What are the things that you don't need to include? And it only needs to be for a couple of seconds. But I want you to try and play around with it. How would you introduce it? I want you to think about your eyes, your hands, your posture. Are you like this? Are you like this? Are your hands open? Are your arms crossed? Are you like this? Think about what you would do. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 minutes to play around, and then we're going to come back. Welcome back from the break, everybody. I hope that you had some time to go to the restroom, get something to eat, practice with the assignment I gave you a couple of times. Let's go take a look at what I gave you a couple of times. You know what, before we do that, we're going to review. Before we can go on to how to present, I want to talk again, just review really quickly for you all, how to prepare for your public speaking or your oral presentation. The first thing you need to do is to select a topic. I told you that the teacher might have assigned the topic, choose your favorite movie and tell the class about your favorite movie. But you are in charge of the content. So the subject or the parameters you might not have a lot of control of, some of it you may, but the content is where you have the control. What you're going to put in, what you're going to put out. What you find relevant that the class needs to know or that your audience needs to know, and what you find that they don't need to know. On top of that, then we talked about the tools. What are the aids? It can be visual, it can be audio. Which one are we going to use, or how many are we going to use to best utilize our time in front of the audience and to get them to want more, to participate? Because the audience has to buy into. They have to be a part of. They have to want to participate in whatever it is that you're doing. And if you haven't done your research on your topic, and you haven't done your research on your audience, and you haven't done your research on which audiovisual tools are going to work best, you're not going to have the best presentation. So now, how do we get to how to present the oral presentation? I gave you a little assignment before we went to the break. Now, if you'll just remind me again, show me what I need to do to get there. Pardon? Escape. And now I'm going to go down to a different slide. I need my glasses. I'm going to go down to a different slide, the one that I gave you. It was right here. I told you to talk about your favorite movie to your classmates. I asked you, what would your opening be like? An opening is, how are you going to grab your audience's attention? Now, we haven't done that yet. I'm going to get into that this 20 minutes. But I wanted to see what our baseline is. What are we working with? What do you do? So I asked you to write it down and to practice it. By a show of hands, how many of you did that? Fabulous. Good. Now, did you try it in front of a mirror? It's always harder when you have to actually either videotape yourself or see yourself in front of a mirror. Did you have something to grab your audience's attention? You may or may not have, based on just the first part of our presentation. But now we're going to get into the do's and don'ts, mostly the do's, for how to present. And Shlomi is going to help me with the technical stuff of how to get back to the part of the slide I need. Escape. And now I'll just go back up. Okay. Okay, here we go. So, do you have your seatbelts on? Are you buckled in? Because we are ready to rock and roll. This part of the presentation has to do with how you present. That's the whole thing that we're talking about today. You do the research because everything you did before could have been written. Now you make it come alive. So let's take a look at some vocabulary. We have an intonation. How is what I'm saying sounding? Because sometimes what I say might not be what you interpret. So you have to make sure that there's some type of match between what I'm saying and how I'm saying it and what your audience is going to be able to interpret and what you mean, what they can understand what you mean. Next is variation. Am I getting up in front of the audience and just talking like this the whole time and I don't change my voice and you have no idea when it's something exciting like I just jumped 10 feet or not? Are you varying your type of speech and what you're saying? It's not just how you're presenting, varying the slides as well. What about gestures? Am I all over the place with my gestures? Those are things we're going to talk about. Less might be more. What about our body language? When you see somebody standing straight, it usually presents some type of confidence. And if there's some type of confidence, it's been shown that people are more drawn to people who are confident or who appear confident. Which means if I were like this, then it might not look like I know what I'm speaking about. Whereas if I'm standing straight, now this is barring any physical ailments that would preclude me from being able to do it. But if I can stand straight, I need to stand straight with my shoulders back, because body language says a lot. If I'm standing like this, or I'm standing like this, all of those things convey messages that might be different than what I'm saying. Your audience might be hearing a totally different message. What about movement? Am I going all over the place? Am I fidgeting? What kind of movement am I using to enhance my presentation? What about eye contact? If somebody does not know their material, they are reading off of their prompt, or they're reading, it's not the president where we have the prompts here, so it looks like we're looking at the camera when we're looking at prompts either above or on the sides. People, I could look over there at the screen, I can look down here. I need to look at my audience. I need to engage them. I need to grab them. I need to make sure that they are focused on me and my message. And it starts with the entrance. When you're doing a presentation, sometimes you start at the podium. Maybe there isn't a podium. Sometimes you start at the door. It depends where you start. The most important thing is to remember that entrance is the most important thing, because everybody's eyes are on you. Talking about you means me. We're talking about me. So in this part of the presentation, we're going to talk about me, you in relationship to your presentation. Your dress, not simla, but dress. How do you dress for the occasion? What's your body language? And of course, as I told you, the most important tool for most public presentations would be your voice. Oral means spoken. So if we're talking about an oral presentation, your voice is your key. Your voice is everything in the presentation. Let's talk about me. We have two features. We have the physical, and then we have the mental. This can really be a problem for some people. When we talk about physical, my hair. Is my hair in place? It's not just the way I appear, though. Or am I fiddling with my hair while I'm talking? Am I biting on my hair? What am I doing with my hair? Have you ever seen presentations where the hair goes up, the hair goes down, the hair goes up, the hair goes down? Up, down. Aside from me playing, have you seen me touch my hair? No. Let's talk about positioning. Physically positioning. If I were talking from over here, it looks a little out of place, doesn't it? You have to think about your positioning and where you are in relationship to your audience. Because all 500,000 of you who are watching right now happen to be focused into one point, it's very easy for me to stay focused on you the entire time. What about shaking? Sometimes people get nervous when they're getting ready to present, right? It's not a bad idea to have something in your hand. I usually give my students a small stuffed animal. You know, those little TY Beanie Babies, and they can hold it in their hand. It does a couple things. One, it allows them to hold it in their hand, and the audience almost never sees it. It doesn't detract, take away from their presentation. And at the same time, because it's a material, it absorbs their sweat, so their hands don't get sweaty. It stays on the little stuffed animal. Not a bad idea, right? Sometimes people are shaking, and they're nervous, and they forget to smile. If I were doing my whole presentation like this, you wouldn't feel so comfortable. It's not so warm and inviting. And if this is a presentation to get you to want to do an oral presentation, I am turning you off. I have to make it so that you feel comfortable, warm, secured, loved, so that you want to do a presentation. But the biggest thing about public presentation or public speaking, as we go back to what I said in the very first video, the first slide presentation, was that people freak out when they hear they have to do something in front of the class. The first thought is, let me get to the teacher, I'll just present by myself. Let me get the yoetzet or my mom or my dad to help me in front of the teacher so I don't have to do it in front of the class. There's a lot of things that go into it, right? Because on top of the fact that I'm just speaking in a foreign language, right? My hands might be sweaty. I may have a fear of heights and a fear of public speaking, or spiders and public speaking. No matter what my fear is, it comes into play. Because on top of all of that, then I have to worry about my English. Because English, for some of you, is a second, third, or fourth language. So then I have to ask myself, okay, is my English as good as their English? Is my English better than their English? Do I think my English is better than their English? Do I think their English is better than mine? Those play and screw with they mess with our heads, right? That's why I put the here. It's our self-confidence. First of all, if we know the material, then we might have the self-confidence for the content, but not for the presenting of the material. So we have to work on our self-confidence. And sometimes we have to fake it till we make it, meaning I might be shaking inside. My stomach might be doing all kinds of hurls. My nerves might be going crazy, wreaking havoc on me. But you all don't see that. Why? Because I might have that stuffed animal in my hand. My shoulders are back. My back is up. My chin is up. So you don't recognize the signs that I might be nervous. And we talk about nerves. Nerves can get in the way. Most public speakers will tell you, and these are professional, this is what they do for a living. A lot of professional speakers will tell you they still get nervous, even actors and actresses. They get nervous before they have to go on, but they control it. And that's what you're going to learn how to do, is to control your nerves. Otherwise, you could be having a terrible mishap, correct? Now, the dress has to fit the occasion. We have different types of dress. We have formal wear, which might be something for something professional. I mean, something like formal where it's dressy, like rishmi. Or you might have something professional, which would be business. Or you might have something casual, which could be every day at school. And then you want to think about your accessories. I don't want accessories that might be hanging down. If I'm a guy, I might not want one of those big chains or things dripping down, because all of those, when somebody moves their hands, detracts from the speaker and what they're saying. So you want to be conscious and aware of everything that you have going on with your body in terms of dress as you're getting ready to do your presentation. And again, you want to make sure that it fits the audience. I'm not going to dress casually if I know I'm speaking before a bunch of sharks and I want to get them to invest in my business. I'm going to dress professionally. Likewise, if I'm doing a business at work, it might be different than what I'm doing for formal. It might not be quite as dressy. So I have a lot to keep in mind. Again, research, know my audience, know my content. What about body language? Body language. Body language. It's the things that we can understand without being told. If I do this, you can understand I might be angry. Oh, you're so sweet. That's not the same message, right? My body language is different from my voice language. So I have to think about my body language as I'm speaking. We started with the entrance. If I enter like this, then it doesn't look like I'm self-confident, and it doesn't look like I know my material, and you might tune out. I might not get any buy-in. I might not get you to pay attention because you did a first impression in the first few seconds and decided I'm not an expert on the topic. What about my movement? Is my movement detracting from you being able to pay attention and get something from my talk? What about my gestures? Sometimes gestures are just too much, you know? People just love to talk a lot with their hands and they just don't stop. And when I think about it and they just keep going on and on and on with their hands, that takes away from their talk. They might have a beautiful presentation that they prepared, but it gets detracted from, taken away from when people are paying attention to other things. And then, as I told you before, we have to have eye contact. Why do you need eye contact? I'll tell you why. There's a couple things. One, it makes people think that you care about them. And if you have trouble with eye contact, you stare right here. Because if you stare right here, they think you're looking right at them. And then, this is the best part. They feel guilty to look away. If you are scanning your audience and giving everybody a little bit of eye contact, they're afraid to look away, because if you look at them when they're not looking at you, it creates some type of guilt. That we can use to our benefit. What about your voice? Your voice, la la la. It's not always what you say. It's about how you say it. What's my intonation? Does it sound like we're having a good time right now? Or does it sound like we're having a good time right now? Yes, we are having a great time right now. Do I go up? Do I vary it? Is there variation? Does my voice go up because I'm excited and I'm happy? Does it go down when I'm trying to be more serious? I have to play with it. It's like an actor. When you're up in front of the group, you are an actor. And what about speed? Sometimes people talk really fast and then you just get them because when people are nervous, they just talk. You have to slow it down some. I understand from the beginning of the talk that some of you commented that maybe I was speaking a little too quickly. I get excited about the topic. I love public speaking. I forget that sometimes you all aren't a native speaker and I speak a little too quickly. So if you noticed, I slowed it down some this time. That's for your benefit. You have to know your audience. You have to read and play off of your audience so that you can vary tone and speed and how you say things. Let's take a little review. Actually, is it time for a break? No. Okay. So we're going to do a little review in the 5 minutes that we have. How do I make my presentation work? Do you remember the 4 things that we went over? Let's take a look at the first one. The first one is me. What did we say about me? It's me physically and it's me emotionally. You have to remember something. As I told you earlier, you are the expert. Nobody knows exactly what you want to say. Even if you have rehearsed it in front of friends, in front of family, we change and we adapt depending on who our audience is. So there's no way anybody knows exactly what you want to say. So physically, you can be there. The shoulders back, the hair done, the dress appropriate. And now we have to work, because this is the harder part, is the mental about me. I have to get rid of the demons that say, I'm not sure I can do this. Oh, I hate public speaking. Is my hair okay? What if you have a booger here? You need someone to tell you, wipe your nose before you start, or clean your teeth before you go. And then the whole time you're speaking, you have things going in your head. On top of presenting, you have to say to yourself, is their English better than mine? Is my English better or even as good as theirs? You have all these things playing on you that on top of just trying to get your message across. You have to squash those things and concentrate on the positives that you can control. And you can control the demons that question your authority to be in front of the group. If you're in front of the group presenting, it's for a reason. It's because you are the expert on that topic at that moment in time. The dress we discussed, you have to know, what if I came in shorts and a t-shirt today? If I came in shorts and a t-shirt because it was sunny outside, is that appropriate for presenting for the Ministry of Education that's going to be televised or on the internet all around? No way. What does my body language say? I have to think about, what does my body language say to my audience? Is it congruent? Does it fit with the message I'm trying to convey? And the last one is my voice. Again, am I like this? Or am I like this? Or am I like this and this and this and this? You have to think about all of those things, and at the same time, you got to remember to smile. Now, we have a break, don't we? Okay, we're going to go to a break in 2 minutes. So before we go to the break, I want to go back to, we tried something beforehand. Your first practice, before you had the benefit of my presentation. And I told you that you were assigned to talk about your favorite movie to your classmates. During this break, I want you to ask yourself, would you have the same opening as you did before? Were you able to engage, to grab and excite your audience? Or would the second time, would you have a better shot at it because you have some tools now behind you of how to do it? So we're going to go to a break. You're going to do this practice, and when we come back, I have a couple more things for you.